One of the most destructive forces in today's world might just be online fame. Just ask Brian Johnson, better recognized by his outrageous alias, the Liver King.
Liver King 4.0 here, the evolved version of Liver King.
Long before the cameras rolled, Brian had built a fortune as a businessman and followed a lifestyle he believed truly benefited his family and himself. But once he caught a glimpse of internet stardom, everything escalated. He leaned into a larger-than-life persona, sharing wild stories about how he achieved his superhero-like physique, claims that became harder to question as his popularity soared. Ever since his deception was exposed, things have taken a sharp turn for the worse. Instead of walking away, Brian has clung tightly to the remnants of his act, spiraling into a state of denial and frustration. His inability to accept that the performance is over has pushed him toward a mental breaking point, and if he's not careful, this obsession could land him in serious trouble. That's right, Louisa. Your guy is losing it. The Liver King's collapse isn't just continuing, it's accelerating.
Let's see if I can do this back. Okay, it's Corey Clay just left me a message. It was freestyle. It's a rap battle.
If you missed his brief reign online, here's the rundown. He shot to fame with a bizarre act centered on what he called the 9 ancestral tenets. According to him, this was the secret for modern men to reclaim their primal strength. This philosophy came with a strange checklist: eating raw liver and animal organs, engaging in off-the-wall workouts, and living shirtless like a prehistoric warrior. It was shocking, theatrical, and designed to provoke. But now that the curtain has been pulled back, what's left is someone struggling to separate the man from the myth. Back in August 2021, when Brian Johnson first launched his social media presence, he set himself apart by challenging modern comforts and warning about their harmful effects on human nature.
I got a phone call one day, right out of the blue. She said, "You are Brian Johnson? Was this you?" And I went, "Oh, what do you want? You must come to London and sing this group." I said, "Tell me the name of the band." She wouldn't tell me. She said, "No, but I can give you the initials."
He said his mission started with a desire to help his kids, who were struggling with various autoimmune conditions. According to him, this drastic lifestyle overhaul not only improved their health, but changed his entire outlook on life. And the public noticed. In just a year and a half, he attracted over 3 million Instagram followers and pulled in massive revenue through his brand, Ancestral Supplements. Clearly, his message resonated with a lot of people, and it seemed like cranking up the shock factor was a successful strategy. But there was more behind the curtain. He often repeated that everything he had, his success, his lifestyle, even his physique, came from what he called his ancestral tenets. He insisted over and over again that his results were 100% natural, achieved without any chemical shortcuts. This wasn't a one-time claim, it was a daily mantra.
Yeah, but get to worry.
And that's the reason that they had to find a new singer. Now, did you have any trouble fitting in?
It was scary.
And yet, his appearance told another story. His body didn't just look fit, it looked unnaturally sculpted, especially for someone in his mid-40s. Despite denying any enhancements, the truth began to unravel when leaked emails surfaced. In a major twist in 2022, Derek Monroe pulled back the curtain, exposing Brian's elaborate lie and fake natty identity, all in pursuit of clout and attention. The image Liver King had built came crashing down in an instant. For those watching, the confirmation felt like a long-awaited "I knew it" moment. Derek Monroe, who openly admits to some pretty unconventional habits himself, laid it all out in a detailed, hour-long breakdown, walking viewers through blood test results and explaining what they really meant. It all stemmed from an email Liver King had received from a bodybuilding coach, listing his steroid cycle and outlining the muscle gains he hoped to achieve. Now, if you're not familiar with those numbers, here's the short version.
Becoming sicker and weaker. We're calling it depression, and we're calling it anxiety. We're calling it autism, and it's not okay.
That's an astronomical amount of growth hormone. Even seasoned professional bodybuilders often show lower levels. And yet, that wasn't the end of it. Long before the accusations about his natural look exploded, his own team had actually tried to team up with Derek. Once the truth was out, people wasted no time in dragging him further down. If anyone had genuinely believed he was natural, they probably hadn't stepped foot in a gym. His nickname, Liver King, took on a whole new meaning, because at this point, it seemed like his liver had survived everything imaginable. After being exposed, Liver King did issue an apology, but for many, it was too little, too late.
To one whole, one soul, and a fire. Oof.
Some who felt deceived even filed a lawsuit, demanding $25 million in damages, though the case was eventually dropped. Still, his reputation took a massive hit. To most, his extreme lifestyle, dating advice, and fitness routines became the punchline of a nationwide joke. For Liver King, who had clearly grown addicted to the spotlight, losing public favor triggered a steep decline. Once the curtain had been pulled back on the whole act, he didn't retreat. He doubled down. In the years that followed, his content took a strange turn, veering into offbeat topics like cliffside farming, becoming more eccentric with each upload.
I'm waiting for my high priest, Joe Cohen. We're enjoying the sunrise. That's what primals do. Get the early...
By 2023 and 2024, his antics reached absurd new heights. Literally, he became the subject of ridicule, especially after bizarre appearances filmed on a boat, which only added fuel to the online mockery. Yet beneath the jokes, some began to worry. Observers like Dr. Mike Israetel were among the first to suggest that his behavior pointed to something far more serious. He seemed dangerously close to a mental health crisis. Just look at him now. Yes, this was the same man who once built his empire on the image of an untouchable alpha male. To say people noticed would be putting it mildly. Some grimly predicted that he wouldn't make it another few years. Others gave him mere months. For many, it was clear that his hunger for fame had become the most destructive force in his life. Most casual fans who once followed his every move had long since moved on. Still, he resurfaced.
Same plan. You won't believe it. Look at this one. Jalapeno.
And saying that the version of Liver King who re-emerged was unhinged would barely scratch the surface. What really brought him back into the public eye was his appearance in a Netflix documentary featured in the Untold series. Watching himself from the outside seemed to shake him. He clearly didn't like what he saw. Despite everything, he stood by his original philosophy, insisting that his message still held value. He also claimed to be off steroids, trying once again to claw his way back into the public's trust. But whether anyone's really buying it this time is another story entirely. That said, it's hard to argue that Liver King's comeback attempt ever truly landed with the public. I recently watched the new Netflix documentary that centered on his story. Toward the end, he claims that after being exposed in 2022, he stopped blowing $11,000 a month on gear and growth hormones, and that he's now enjoying a clean, drug-free lifestyle. But when I checked his latest posts on Instagram, I couldn't help but laugh. If you honestly think he's clean, I've got a bridge in Brooklyn to sell you. After realizing that the documentary didn't spark the redemption arc he was banking on, Liver King started to reflect, but not in the way you'd expect. Rather than owning up to his choices, he went searching for someone else to blame. And for reasons still unclear, the first name that came to mind was Joe Rogan. Oddly enough, the two barely interacted. Still, it seems Liver King saw Rogan as a symbolic enemy from the start, and that grudge only grew over time. But let's set the record straight. The person who actually broke the story wide open was Derek from More Plates, More Dates. He even had a long, revealing conversation with Liver King about his steroid use. As for Joe Rogan, his reaction wasn't exactly warm, but it wasn't cruel either. When Liver King apologized publicly, Joe chuckled. Not out of spite, but because he genuinely couldn't believe people had fallen for the act in the first place. And despite Liver King occasionally popping up again, even admitting to still smoking weed now and then, Joe never really gave him much attention.
And use the shitter. Go to a truck stop and use the shitter. That smell is the smell of someone's diet.
In the end, Liver King's fall wasn't the result of a feud. It was the outcome of a performance that couldn't hold up under real scrutiny. But Liver King didn't see it that way. In his mind, it wasn't the documentary or the public backlash that ended his reign. It was his sit-down with Derek. He believes that conversation marked the moment people truly understood the downfall was real. And because of that, he's now on a mission to take them down. At one point, he even offered cash incentives to his followers if they stopped watching content from Derek or Joe Rogan. Meanwhile, Joe addressed why he never invited Liver King onto his podcast. His reasoning was simple. Liver King had taken things too far and had become almost obsessive, to the point where it felt like he was being followed. After Joe made it clear he wasn't interested in a guest spot, Liver King didn't take it well. Appearing intoxicated in his posts, he lashed out at Joe online, ranting in what many saw as an unhinged attempt to stir attention. There were moments where he looked genuinely unstable, like he was slipping into something darker. But at the same time, some viewers felt he was using the chaos as a last-ditch effort to force his way onto the Joe Rogan Experience, one of the most watched platforms in the world. Liver King made one thing very clear. He wouldn't stop trying. No matter the cost, no matter how hard the fight might be, he was going to keep pushing. But Joe, he stayed quiet, unmoved, and firmly uninterested. Once again, the public began questioning his mental state. Whispers online grew louder. Was he spiraling? Could he hurt someone close to him? Some even joked that he seemed like he was on something stronger than ego. Meth, perhaps. As the speculation mounted, Liver King, now calling it a matter of personal honor, escalated the chaos by offering $1 million prize to anyone willing to fight him. At first, it all seemed like another wild attempt to grab attention online, a publicity stunt to stay relevant. After all, he'd pulled off plenty of outrageous stunts throughout his time on social media, but things quickly took a darker turn when he told his followers that he had actually tracked down his so-called rival in Austin, Texas. That's when things stopped being just internet noise. Liver King was officially charged with a Class B misdemeanor for making terroristic threats, a charge that, while not unexpected, was alarming given how bizarre his videos had become. Even his fashion choices sparked tension, fueling an unofficial standoff. In one clip, he boldly declared, "Yes, I would like to fight you." His fixation on Joe Rogan continues to puzzle many critics, equal parts disturbing and oddly theatrical. But not everyone sees it as random madness. Some believe the entire campaign is a deliberate distraction, a way to avoid taking responsibility for the deception and damage he caused. Still, if his goal was to revive his public profile, he was at least partially successful. Well-known kickboxer Joe Schilling even pointed out how the chaos gave Liver King's social media a noticeable boost. The guy gained 300,000 followers overnight, Schilling noted. It turns out that watching public meltdowns is one of the internet's favorite pastimes. After being released on bond, with an ankle monitor clearly visible, Liver King once again confronted his imagined opponent. At the same time, his grip on reality seemed to slip further, and his actions became even more irrational. He's now pouring enormous amounts of energy into pushing for a fight he has no real chance of winning. For those unfamiliar, Joe Rogan isn't just a podcast host. He's a skilled martial artist with years of experience in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Taekwondo at a national level. He's no easy target. In the end, though, Liver King was forced to walk away, his bizarre campaign having failed to achieve what he'd hoped. No fight, no redemption, just more questions about where it all went wrong. Yet even after returning home, the strange behavior hasn't stopped. Liver King continues to post cryptic updates, showing no concern that law enforcement might come knocking again. Brian Johnson seems completely lost in his own creation, unsure where the character ends and real life begins. Online reactions have been a mix of mockery and sympathy. Some offer sarcastic encouragement. "You're doing great." Others echo Joe Rogan's rumored remark, "He's in your drywall, brother. Get help." While some viewers might still be watching, it's clear that the novelty is fading. If things keep going this way, he'll just become another internet oddity people scroll past. That decline may have sped up after a disturbing video surfaced, one showing him kicking his dog. The backlash was immediate and intense, and whatever sliver of respect he had left began to vanish. Hurting a defenseless animal is possibly the fastest way to ruin your name beyond repair. The rise and fall of Liver King is a powerful cautionary tale. Someone who had success, a family, money, and status, only to throw it all away chasing a fame he never needed and couldn't handle. What's worse is that deep down, he knows it. He had wealth, a beautiful wife.
What did they say?
They, listen, just take this with a grain of salt, but they assured me he's gonna be in and out.
Yeah.
It's like, we gotta process you, he'll bail out, but...
Healthy children, and a physique that people admired. But his obsession with attention undid it all. Instead of facing the consequences of his own decisions, he now lashes out, trying to shift the blame. His story stands as a warning. When your brand is built on deception, it's only a matter of time before it collapses. As Liver King's story continues to unfold, the line between performance and reality has nearly vanished. In recent weeks, whispers from within the fitness influencer world suggest Brian Johnson might be quietly attempting to negotiate a rebrand behind closed doors, possibly distancing himself from the Liver King title altogether. Industry insiders speculate he's in talks with media consultants to launch a health-focused podcast stripped of primal theatrics, hinting at a softer, a more family man approach. Yet even as he tries to shed the weight of his viral past, the digital footprint he left behind makes it nearly impossible to escape. According to former collaborators, his team is now divided, with some urging a strategic retreat, while others reportedly push for one last viral stunt to recapture attention. Perhaps another documentary, this time told entirely from his own perspective. The Netflix appearance was supposed to be that moment, but instead of a heroic redemption, it became a reflective mirror showing just how far the act had spun out of control. Even more curious is a rumored behind-the-scenes interaction between Liver King and a high-profile MMA manager, who allegedly rejected a proposed influencer exhibition match due to concerns over Brian's unpredictable behavior. As rumors of a potential rehab stint swirl, fueled by his increasingly erratic uploads and fatigued appearance, one thing is clear: the myth he created may have consumed the man entirely. Mental health advocates have quietly stepped into the conversation too, calling for compassion rather than ridicule, suggesting that what's being witnessed isn't just a PR spiral, but a personal crisis playing out in real time. Surprisingly, some corners of the internet are revisiting his earliest content, clips of Brian before the fame, before the branding, and wondering aloud if there's still a chance for him to reclaim that version of himself. But others argue that the spectacle has become too ingrained, that the character of Liver King has overshadowed any attempt at sincere growth. While his feud with Joe Rogan grabbed headlines, it may have been a distraction from a deeper truth. Liver King wasn't just chasing clout, he was trying to fill a void. The raw liver, the outlandish stunts, the ancestral persona, all tools in a toolbox designed to earn validation, even if it came at the cost of authenticity. As of this writing, he remains active online, posting fragmented monologues that blend fitness advice with vague philosophical tangents. Some viewers find them motivational, others see them as signs he's still trapped in character. Either way, the response is dwindling. Engagement metrics have reportedly dipped, and brand partnerships are becoming harder to secure. According to one source close to a major supplement retailer, his name is now considered a risk, not an asset. Whether he recognizes this shift or is still holding out hope for a second act remains uncertain. But for now, the Liver King saga sits at a crossroads. No longer an empire, not quite a cautionary tale, and still unraveling with each post. And now, Liver King is feeling the full weight of that collapse.